Hi, I'm Underbelly, and you suck at mixing. In this series, we're going to go through every step necessary to properly mix down your track. In this first video, we're going to learn how to best prepare our track for the mix down journey. Let's get started. Okay, so check it. Mixing is the process of blending all the sounds together in our track to form a sweet, delicious soup. Now, it's very important to note that mixing cannot turn a shit song into a non-shit song. So before we start, it's very important that you're 100% happy with all the creative aspects of your track. Because once we start the mix down process, we're essentially committing to the track as is, like you would with your first wife. If you think your track still might be a shit song, try submitting it to my Discord, where it will be happily roasted by hundreds of other producers. Let's go ahead and open up our computer devices and prepare our track for the mixdown.
Okay, so check it. Here we have a nice little slice of pop bullshit. Let's take a listen. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think we're ready to start the mixdown process. And what that involves is bouncing every one of these individual tracks to audio. Now, there's a couple reasons why we do this. First off, it forces you to commit to the track as is, because we will essentially be baking these tracks, the MIDI clips here, into an unchangeable audio track. Now, you might wonder why you would want to do that. Well, it's probably because you're afraid of commitment, okay? You're afraid of not being able to go back and endlessly tweak this track and never actually finish anything, just like the rest of your life. So that's why I would recommend bouncing the audio. It forces you to kind of take the creative hat off and put on the technical mixdown hat. Now, I don't really wear hats, but I'll probably have to because my bald spot is growing. In addition to forcing you to kind of draw a line in the sand, if you will, audio is much easier on your CPU and also much cleaner to work with, as you'll see. So before we bounce to audio, we're probably going to want to take off the unnecessary audio effects that are plaguing each one of our individual tracks. So definitely take off everything on your master. And then let's just kind of comb through these. You notice on this track, I have some shit congas. And you'll notice that I have a sidechain compressor. Now that's something I'm probably going to want to tweak and really refine in the mixdown process. I'm probably not going to want to bake this into the audio. So for that reason, I'm going to turn it off. However, the Camel Crusher, okay? Let's hear it with it on and then off. Okay, you heard that when I turned it off, the congas turned into a flimsy shell of themselves. That Camel Crusher is really integral to the sound. It really makes the congas who they are. So that's probably something that I'm going to want to leave on and actually bake into the audio. Next up, we have our Journey strings. Okay, I don't like Journey, and also these are not strings. The EQ and reverb I have going on here probably could be better. I probably would want to tweak these later on, so that's why I'm going to leave them off. They also don't change the sound that dramatically. So what you would have to do is kind of go through every single one of these tracks and turn off those unnecessary audio effects and only leave what's integral to the sound. Okay, ditto with the unnecessary automation. Let's get rid of that bullshit. Ditto with any unnecessary tracks, really. And also now let's kind of take a look, see here at my drums. Notice how they're all collected into one massive drum rack, and if I was to export this, it would all be baked into one. I wouldn't be able to extract each one of the individual drum hits because they would all be on one track. That is not cool, bro. So what we have to do here is say I wanted to separate, I don't know, this kick out. What I would do is right-click on the kick and hit extract chains, and wowzers. Now it's its own audio track, MIDI track, has its own MIDI information, its own drum rack, and it even keeps any audio effects that I have on that specific drum hit. I'm actually going to take this off, but this is a very convenient way to separate out and prepare your drums for the mixdown process if you do use drum racks. Now, I would also label each one of these. So shit get, what's this? Let's see what we have here. More shit get. Basically, just label them in a way that's easy to remember. And once you have that going, it's time to actually export these bad boys. Now, it's very important that you select all individual tracks or selected tracks only if you're feeling particular. I use all individual tracks, and just keep in mind that it will bounce groups as one audio track and will also bounce all the audio tracks within the group individually. So you'll be getting a group bounce and the individual bounce, kind of redundant. I would actually increase the render length a little bit past the end of your track to account for any reverb tails, anything like that. And I would also leave normalize on. What normalizing does is it turns up every single audio track to make it as loud as it can be without clipping, which totally fucks up all the relative volumes you've set for your tracks. Now you might be asking yourself, Underbelly, why would I want to redo all the relative volumes? Well, it's because you fucking do it better the second time, you dingus, okay? Plus, it also forces you to reckon with every single element of your track. So that means elements that you might have buried or hidden in your track will be super loud and actually force you to reckon with them and see if you actually need them at all. So that's why I tend to leave normalize on. It's because I usually get a better relative volume mix down the second time around. Now, I would probably also leave dither off. That's something you really only want for your master track. Leave the bit depth as it is. You can analyze, maybe convert some of these to mono if you're feeling like you're feeling sick, like you have mono. And then go ahead and export this, create a folder, and wowzers, there you have it. I've already done it. Once you got that bounced, go ahead and create a new blank live set. This is where we're going to be actually doing the mix downing. Go ahead and take all your beautiful bounces here and click and drag all of them into this new empty live set. Go ahead and hold down Command so that each one of these gets their own track, and wowzers, look at that beautiful set of fat sausages. Now, let's go ahead and get organized here. I'm going to go ahead and drag these out. Notice that I've labeled all of them 117. That's the BPM, so I don't forget. And let's go ahead and kind of consolidate and color code all my drums first. Okay, so all these snares I'm going to make yellow. I'm going to assign track color to clips so that's much more visible. Let's find some other drum elements. These hi-hats here, let's put them all in the middle there. Also make them yellow, the color of piss. I'm enjoying that recently. And let's find maybe the claps, bring that in there as well. Anything else that I'm missing? Basically, you just kind of get organized here. Whoops, we don't want any groups yet. Actually, we kind of want to reserve those for a little bit later. And let's go ahead and open up all these drum elements here, and let's organize them in the way so that the elements that are starting off at the beginning of the track are kind of at the top here, while the elements that are maybe later on, we probably want to leave towards the bottom. So we're kind of getting like a downward staircase shape here to kind of help us get organized. So I would recommend doing that with every one of these drum groups here, every one of these instrument groups, so that when we're ready to establish our relative volumes, we're super neat and organized. Wowzers.
Okay, so check it. Now that we have our track prepared, next time we're going to be establishing the relative volumes of our primary, secondary, and ornamental instruments. I'm Underbelly. See you soon.